What if I told you that this £15 flea market knife represents 80 years of British craftsmanship that most people walk right past? You'd say I was mad, but watch this. I'm Slippy, and this Wade and Butcher from 1945 represents a pivotal moment in military knife history. 1945 was the first year they introduced full stainless steel construction for any military clasp knife. I found this beauty at the local flea market. The seller had no idea what it was. Full stainless steel construction, almost pristine blade with very minimal wear. And for an 80-year-old military knife, that is unbelievable. The handles also show minimal wear, and those markings told a story. This isn't just any old knife. This is a piece of British military history that was almost lost forever. If you're hunting military surplus knives, here's what you need to know about authenticating Wade and Butcher pieces from this era. So I have some tips and tricks and things to look out for, which I've picked up over the years from online and, researching these sorts of knives. So the first thing you want to be looking for is the markings on the scales. Now, 99% of the time, these are going to be on the scales and not the tang like a regular knife would be. You can see this one has very clear Wade and Butcher markings with Sheffield and oil the joints underneath. And then above that, we have 1945 and the broad arrow. Now that brings us on to the second tip. For any sort of military acceptance piece, it's always going to have this broad arrow, or otherwise known as the crow's foot, on it. And without that, it may be an army knife, but it won't be one that's been used by the military, as it won't have the acceptance stamp on there. Another tip you want to be looking out for, there are certain ages of these that were notorious for snapping back springs, so you want to have a good look at the springs, making sure you can't see any sort of cracks or any sort of hidden, breakages underneath any dirt. I was very lucky with this one that it was nearly in this condition, pretty much spotless, had great action as well, and that's something else you want to be looking for. If you're opening it and you're struggling to open it, likelihood of that either the spring has seized or there's so much dirt in that pivot that every time you open it, it's going to be wearing away that back spring, making the action less and less. Now, the next tip I have, you want to be making sure you're picking up the ones, especially if you're after the ones for after 1945 with this full stainless construction. Now, as I said earlier, 1945 was the first year that this became the sort of military standard. And you can just see how much easier these would have been to construct and how much that more they could have produced, getting them out to the military as quick as possible. And that full stainless construction also means they were incredibly easy to maintain. Didn't have to worry about any of the handles cracking off, and you could just get on with using. And then honestly, one of the final tips might seem a bit obvious, but these military knives were used incredibly hard use. And that means it's going to be very hard to find ones that are in this condition or even better condition. So ones you're picking up that look absolutely immaculate are either brand new that someone's trying to sell to you for a vintage piece, or it could possibly be a reproduction, which goes back to making sure you have the stamp, the maker's mark, and that military issue broad arrow on there as well. But all of these knives will have a fantastic snap. They were all built to be used hard and to stand the test of time, like this one here, the Wade and Butcher. Realistic market value for one of these? I mean, it all depends on the buyer. I picked this one up for £15, which is an absolute bargain. But honestly, these can probably go from 50, even some cases up to £100 maximum, depending on its condition. But here's the thing, it's not about money, it's about preserving this military history. This knife has survived 80 years, it's seen military service and was almost lost forever in that flea market stall. Every scratch tells a story, every mark is a testament to its service. And that is knife collecting for you. Sometimes the most extraordinary pieces are hidden in plain sight. Now, this Wade and Butcher didn't just survive the wars, it survived decades of being overlooked by everyone. until someone came along and realised it's a piece of military history that deserves to be preserved. Drop a comment below if you found any military surplus at flea markets or antique stores. I love hearing what you guys have picked up. As always, please like, subscribe to the channel for more antique and vintage knife history. Thank you very much for watching. Peace out.